The hardest part of growing a business is not getting more clients. It's becoming the person who can sustainably lead the business that you say that you want. And most business owners don't realize this, but the habits that built your business may be the exact habits preventing it from growing and scaling. Think about that. Two business owners can have the same tools, the same information, and even the same opportunities. One grows and one stays overwhelmed. Why? Well, because one is making decisions from the identity of an operator and the other is making decisions from the identity of a leader. Hi, I'm Yvonne Bramble, founder of Apex Business Advisory, a strategic business advisory firm where we partner with business owners to build stronger, more scalable businesses through strategic planning and operational excellence. And today, I want to show you how the identity shift that changes everything and why building a better business starts by becoming a better business owner first. Most business owners think that growth happens when revenue increases. But what if growth actually starts earlier than that? What if business growth begins the moment you stop asking, what do I need to do, and start asking a different question? Who do I need to become? That's a huge transformational shift in perspective. See, your habits, they reveal your identity. If your current habits are creating overwhelm, inconsistency, and exhaustion, well, your business may not need more effort. It may need a different version of you. And that brings me to my first point, which is your identity creates your business. See, most people focus on outcome, or what we like to call goals, right? These outcomes. For example, I want more revenue, or I want more clients, or I want to hit 6 figures. And then after they identify their outcomes, then they're thinking, okay, well, how am I going to achieve that outcome? Well, then they start thinking in terms of what they're going to do, right? They move into what's often called process mode. What is that? Well, better systems, more content, maybe another planner or another strategy. What are the things I need to do to get to that outcome? But here's the thing, identity. Identity is what sits underneath, in the background of it all. I want you to think of identity like the operating system. The identity is the operating system that is really in the background driving everything. So identity determines your behavior. Your habits are not random. They're evidence of what you believe about yourself. So if you believe your business only succeeds because of your constant efforts, well, then you're going to build habits of overwhelm, of overreacting. But if you believe that you're the type of business owner that is called to lead, then you're going to build habits around planning, visibility, strategic thinking, and growth. Completely different identity will lead to completely different outcomes. So you can have an identified outcome or goal that you want, and then you have processes on how you're going to get there. But if your identity is not supporting that, it's going to crumble like a house of cards. So your business is not just producing results, your business is reflecting who you are becoming. I want you to think of your business like a mirror. Your business is your mirror. So if you're not liking the output, right, of what your business is producing, you gotta look internally, look in the mirror, make the right assessment. Make an assessment and say, okay, if I've got the outcome or goals that's aligned with what I want and the processes in place or how I'm going to do that, that's clear, and this is not working, well, the third thing I want you to really look at is the identity. Has my identity leveled up to where I want to go? See, your business is not just producing results. Again, it's reflecting who you are becoming. And so let me tell you a story, and I think this is going to really bring it home for you. One business owner that I worked with was a therapist who genuinely cared deeply about her clients. She was talented, respected, and constantly busy, but she felt stuck. She kept saying, if I just work harder, eventually things are going to improve. Her calendar was full, but growth felt inconsistent and exhausting. And her identity had become, I'm the person who solves every problem. There was an issue, she would jump in, right? That identity created habits of answering every message immediately, customizing every experience for her clients, working late, and making herself the center of every process. Eventually, she realized that she did not need to become more productive. She actually needed to become a different leader. You see, because what worked for her before, right? Her essentially being the center of every process, solving every problem, right? Making herself available, customizing the experience, that worked in the beginning of her business. But that type of pattern of behavior actually becomes the bottleneck as you grow, as you scale. Because she made herself the center of every process, she literally became the bottleneck. And she had to remove herself and learn new skills. For instance, as a leader, learning how to delegate. Okay? She realized that she did not need to become more productive. Again, she needed to become a different leader. Her new identity became this: I lead a business that creates transformation. I lead a business that creates transformation. And I worked with her on identifying and crafting that new identity, and then doing the mindset work to support it so that she integrates this new identity. And that shift changed everything. She created systems, protected her schedule, created stronger client experience, and built space for visibility and growth. See, this transformation had to happen at the subconscious level. She had to do the mindset work. A lot of times we think in terms of the outside, the conscious. Well, what's my outcome or my goal? How do I get there? And then you just go do it, and then you wonder why it's so difficult, why you're not getting the results. Well, a lot of times you have to look under the hood, right? When a car's not working the way that you need it to, you gotta stop and look under the hood and say, okay, what needs to be fixed? What do we need to resolve here so that it can get going? And that's exactly what the mindset identity work that we did together. Her business did not grow because she worked harder. It grew because she shifted her identity from I'm a hard worker to I'm a business leader. Now, let me share another story with you to also really drive this point home for you. You know, I once worked with a business owner, a CPA, who told me something that I hear quite often, and that's, well, I'm busy all day, but I never feel ahead. I'm busy, but I'm never really feeling like I'm getting ahead, right? Well, her inbox controlled her day. After we did some digging and worked with her, I realized that she was focusing on a lot of the administrative work, but not on the things that impacted the bottom line, right? Client requests controlled her schedule, revenue felt unpredictable. And here's the thing, when we looked under the hood, we realized that her identity was that my value comes from always being available. And here's the thing, this is not something that she consciously knew, that was a belief that was running in the background. She didn't consciously tell me in the first meeting, oh, my belief is my value comes from always being available. No, that's not how it worked. We did the inner work, okay? We did the inner work. And in my consultation, that's how I work with you, is we go under the hood, we go into the subconscious should the need arise to do so. And in this case, we did. And that's what came up. Well, that was the program running in the background of her life. And that program was not serving or supporting her next level. That helped her at one point, but not in the next level. We needed to change the program that was running in the background, okay? I hope that's starting to make sense here. Change that program by inserting different beliefs, a different identity. Availability is not leadership. So what we did is we shifted her identity to I intentionally create growth. So in the onset, this is like an affirmation, right? Once we understood what the limiting belief was, we went into the subconscious, identified the limiting belief, right? And then we replaced it with a new one. And she committed to doing the mindset work necessary to be able to get the results. So one habit changed to support that new identity, right? Once she had that identity and she worked through that, now it was a matter of solidifying that. So we worked on the identity shift mentally, but guess what? Now we had to take action. And that action meant a habit, even just one, to really solidify and integrate this new identity. She had to see it in action. See it in action. So how did she see it in action? By inserting one easy habit to support that new identity. And with consistency and in time, that's when this identity takes root, like a seed, okay? Like a seed in the ground, it takes root and then it begins to grow, right? So before opening email each morning, she spent one focused hour on activities that created future business. For example, follow-up, relationship building, visibility, business development. Those are the types of habit that were introduced differently, okay? And that one habit created evidence of a new identity. And slowly she stopped reacting and started leading. Revenue became more predictable because her habits finally matched the business that she wanted. So that leads me to the second point, which is why more productivity is not the answer. You know, there's a belief system, a myth really, that gets most business owners stuck. And that myth is that growth requires more productivity. Oh, you hear that all the time. Productivity, more hours, more content, more tactics, more hustle. But sometimes the problem is not capacity, it's identity. Because the business owner who creates consistent growth asks different questions. Now I'm going to say that again. The business owner who creates consistent growth is because they're asking different questions. What kind of questions, you may ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. They ask strategic questions. They don't ask, what else can fit into my day? Or what more can I fit into my day to be more productive? No. Instead, they ask, what is the one thing that's going to impact the bottom line? First of all, that means that you've done your due diligence and prioritized and assessed what is your bottom line, right? That question necessitates an assessment, right? A pre-assessment, if you will. Understand what your bottom line is. And then what's the one thing that's going to impact that bottom line? What's the one thing that I need to do today? The question is not how do I stay busy, but how do I lead? Not how much work can I get done in this hour, but how can I strategically leverage this hour to move the needle forward in my business. See, they stop measuring success by effort and start measuring success with clarity on the main priority and build laser focused, intentional action on that end result. And clarity creates momentum. And along with the clarity, then you've got the structure behind it, and that structure, that's going to create your freedom. The identity determines whether your habits support growth or sabotage them. Now let's talk about a practical way that you can apply this identity shift into your day-to-day life. I want you to ask yourself 3 strategic questions. Here we go. So we've been talking a lot, I've been doing a lot of videos on strategy and the need to have at least one strategy session a week, and in your strategic session, an hour a week, whichever day you choose, you can use these questions to drive that strategic assessment for yourself. The first question is, who does my business require me to become? The second question is, would that version of me have? Again, the strategic question that you want to ask yourself is, what habits would that version of me have? And then the third question is, strategic question number 3, what habits would that version of me stop doing? Maybe your shift is from overwhelmed to intentional, or from operator to leader, or from hidden to visible, from inconsistent to disciplined. Once you have identified what that transformation needs to look like, now you choose one small action that proves that identity, right? That's going to integrate that identity. For example, one sales conversation, 1 hour of focused growth work, one decision that you've been avoiding or putting off. See, every intentional action becomes a vote for the business owner that you are becoming. Now, in closing, you want to become the leader your business needs. And if this message resonated with you, I want you to remember something. Your next level is not asking you to work harder. It's asking you to lead differently. And sometimes the hardest part is knowing what habits to change and what identities to step into next. And if you're mulling over those questions, that's exactly why I created the Strategic Leadership and Business Growth Program. Here, that's where I partner with business owners so they can lead with greater confidence, clarity, and consistent revenue. And that's done through strategy, structure, and system. And if you're ready to become the version of yourself that your next level requires, click the link below to learn more. And before you go, I'd love to hear your comments and begin engaging with the comment section here and build a community. I want you to answer the question in the comment section. What identity shift does your business need from you right now? I read every comment, so I'd love to hear what you have to say. Okay, and in the next video, we're gonna continue this conversation. It doesn't stop here. In the next video, we're gonna talk about the tiny habits that create massive business growth, and I'll see you there. Oceans of love and light and in support of others. Until next time, my friend.